Have you ever trusted someone so much that you ignored every blinking neon red flag in your gut? Yeah, me too. And let me tell you, the crash hurts a lot more when you see it coming and still keep driving straight into the wall. I met Sabrina 2 years ago at a bookstore that smelled like overpriced coffee and pretentious novels. My kind of place. She was magnetic, the kind of woman who could walk into a room and make every guy forget what he was talking about mid-sentence. Me? I'm a regular guy. I work in IT, enjoy grilling on Sundays, and I don't think my clothes have ever matched, on purpose. But somehow she picked me. She had that ambitious, mysterious vibe, always chasing something just out of reach. I liked it at first. It was exciting. But that mystery, it eventually turns into silence. Every time I asked about her past, especially exes, she brushed it off like a crumb on her fancy blazer. That's not important, she'd say with a soft smile, the kind that makes you feel like the one overthinking things. Sometimes, when we were together, physically, she just wasn't there. Like mentally, she had logged off. Ever had a conversation with someone who's looking right through you? Yeah, that. But I was hooked. She had this way of making you feel like you were almost enough. And almost is a hell of a drug. Then one night, after a bottle of wine and a rom-com I pretended to enjoy, she said the words that should have made me suspicious. Let's go to Bali. Just the two of us. We need to reset. Reset? What was this? Our relationship or a malfunctioning Wi-Fi router? But I nodded like a fool. She said it would bring us closer, help us get to the next level. In my head, I thought maybe I'd finally propose. I'd even Googled unique proposal ideas in Bali the next day. Spoiler alert, don't waste your time. We booked a stay at one of those ridiculous luxury resorts with infinity pools and decorative towels folded into zoo animals. I was all in. Bags packed, heart open, credit card maxed. When we landed, everything looked like a screensaver. Palm trees, turquoise water, sunrises that practically begged to be Instagrammed. For a few days, things were perfect. Too perfect. She laughed. We drank coconut water straight from the source, and she even held my hand again like she used to. It felt like maybe, just maybe, we were getting back on track. Then things started to shift. And not in the, I forgot sunscreen and now my back looks like a lobster kind of way. She got glued to her phone. I'm talking Olympic-level scrolling. During dinner, she'd excuse herself to reply to a work message and vanish for 15 minutes. The screen was always face down, and when I joked about it, she gave me that tight-lipped smile that basically says, drop it or sleep on. The couch. Now, I'm not the jealous type, but I'm also not stupid. One night, she told me she wanted to explore a local market alone. Alone. In a country she'd never been to before, where she doesn't speak the language, and where the idea of market could mean anything from handcrafted jewelry to black market. Monkeys. That's when I remembered we had tracking enabled on our iPhones, something we agreed on a while back, for emergencies. Well, buddy, this was an emergency. My curiosity wasn't just piqued, it was waving a damn flare gun. I checked her location, expecting to see her bouncing around shops near the hotel. Nope. She was planted at one spot, for over an hour. Suspicious? You bet your ass. So I did what any calm, rational boyfriend would do. I grabbed a taxi and followed the dot on the screen like it was a GPS to my own dignity. The address led me to a cozy little cafe tucked away behind a wall of hibiscus plants and bad decisions. And there she was, sitting across from a guy who looked like he just stepped out of a cologne ad. Perfect hair, smug smile, tailored shirt. They were holding hands. I almost laughed. Not because it was funny, because it was so cliché, like a Netflix drama I never asked to star in. She leaned in close, laughing at something. He said, the same laugh she used to save for our inside jokes. I snapped a photo from the sidewalk like some heartbroken private investigator and ducked behind a bush when they almost looked my way. By the time I got back to the hotel, I was running. On adrenaline, rage, and one too many cups of Balinese espresso. She returned an hour later, holding a cheap wooden elephant and talking about how authentic the market was. I nodded, smiled, said nothing. But let me tell you, I wasn't planning a proposal anymore. I was planning an exit. After that little undercover field trip to the cafe of Betrayal, I couldn't sleep. I laid there in our overpriced villa, listening to the ceiling fan spin like a lazy lie detector, wondering how many times she'd looked me in the eye and told me she loved me with him in the background. She slept like a baby. Of course she did. The next morning, she woke up all sunshine and smoothies, talking about going to a waterfall hike like nothing happened. I nodded, told her it sounded amazing, then quietly started watching her like she was a suspect in a true crime docuseries. She kept doing this thing where she'd sneak glances at her phone, smirk, then lock it again. You know that little smirk people do when they're texting someone they really like? Yeah, that. It wasn't for me. I got the generic pass me the sunscreen tone. That day at the waterfall, she took exactly 2 selfies with me, then spent the next 45 minutes pretending she was interested in rock formations while sneakily texting under a sarong. I didn't say a word. I wasn't ready yet. See, I'm not the dramatic type. I don't throw plates. I don't scream in public, but I do plan. And now, I was collecting receipts. That night, while she was in the shower, with some suspiciously long steam time, by the way, I picked up her phone. Face ID didn't work. Shocking. But guess what? She'd forgotten to log out of her iPad, which she left in her beach tote. Rookie move. I opened her messages app, fully expecting to find some flirty texts and heart emojis. What I found was a novella. A digital love story that would make Nicholas Sparks gag. There were long threads between her and K.I. Yeah, the guy from the cafe. Apparently they'd been talking for months, maybe longer. I didn't count. My personal favorite? It's just a trip with an old friend. He's harmless. This is for us. I needed a reason to come see you again. Harmless. She called me harmless, like a paperclip or a goldfish. She wrote to him about how this trip was just a cover and that she needed time before she could end things without drama. Meanwhile, I'm the one buying her beach hats and carrying around aloe vera gel like a lovesick Sherpa. There were I love yous. There were remember when flashbacks. There was even talk about possibly moving in together once she sorted things out. Spoiler alert, I was the thing to be sorted. I stared at the screen for a long time, letting the words punch me in the gut one emoji at a time. Then I closed the iPad, set it gently back in the tote, and walked out onto the balcony. And that's where I decided. I wasn't blowing up. I wasn't begging or accusing or creating a soap opera in paradise. Nope. I booked the next flight home. The following morning, I told her I wasn't feeling great. Something I ate, maybe. It wasn't a lie. My appetite had been curb-stomped by betrayal. I said she should go to that yoga and elephant sanctuary tour she'd been raving about. She hesitated for half a second, then smiled. And I swear, to you it looked like relief. While she was off pretending to care about animal rights, I packed my stuff. I canceled the rest of our booking, handed my room key to the confused hotel manager, and left her a note on the bed. It said, I saw everything. This wasn't a vacation. It was your little con game. I'm heading home. Everything's blocked. Don't bother calling. Good luck explaining the photos. Yeah. I attached the photo I took of her and Kai, holding hands like a couple on a Hallmark card. Printed. Left it on her pillow like a mint. And then I walked out. The taxi to the airport was quiet. I watched the sun set over the ocean. The same ocean I thought I'd propose by. There was no anger. Just clarity. Like I'd finally stopped pretending I didn't know the answer to a question I was afraid to ask. I didn't look back. Not once. By the time her flight home landed, if she even took it, she was already blocked on everything. Phone, socials, email, even LinkedIn for good measure. I nuked the bridge so hard, archaeologists won't find ruins. And honestly, I felt good. No drama, no screaming match. Just the truth, quietly delivered with the efficiency of a guy who's been lied to one too many times. Let her explain it however she wants. The truth was no longer my burden. You ever ghost someone in real life? I don't mean dodging texts or muting their stories. I mean packing up your bags, walking out of a 5-star resort in Bali, leaving nothing behind but a breakup note and a printed photo of them cheating. Highly recommend. 5 stars. Would do again. I landed back in the States feeling like I'd just escaped a cult. No more fake smiles. No more pretending I didn't notice her phone buzzing every time she was in the bathroom. No more work calls that mysteriously lasted until 2 a.m. I slept like a rock that first night back. Jet lag didn't stand a chance against 2 weeks of emotional whiplash. Then came the aftermath. Sabrina must have landed a few days later. I wouldn't know. Blocked her everywhere before her return flight even hit the runway. But I started getting texts from our mutual friends. Hey, are you okay? Sabrina said you had a breakdown? She told us you left her stranded in Bali with no money? Oh, she was fast. Like Olympic sprinter fast. She'd already begun her damage control tour, starring herself as the poor abandoned girlfriend and me as the emotionally unstable boyfriend who went off the rails. Nice try, Netflix. But I had receipts. At first, I ignored it. Let people think what they wanted. But then one friend, Mike, who I actually respected, called and asked me point blank if I needed help. That's when I knew it was time. I sent Mike the screenshots. The messages between her and Kai, the picture I'd taken at the cafe, the love notes, the line about me being harmless. Mike didn't even reply with words, just sent back the skull emoji, then, bro, I'm so sorry. I'm done with her. Soon, word spread. One by one, the mutuals started unfollowing her, texting me their own versions of WTF. Some people stayed silent, probably too embarrassed they believed her lies. That's fine. I wasn't on a PR tour. I just wanted peace. Sabrina, though, she took it as a personal challenge. First, she tried texting me from random numbers. You know the type. Green bubbles and desperation. I didn't respond. Then she started emailing me. Same routine. Guilt trips, gaslighting, half-assed apologies peppered between passive-aggressive jabs. Then she escalated. One morning, I opened my work email and almost spit my coffee. She'd sent a message to my boss. Yep. She accused me of abusive behavior, said I was unstable, and tried to spin the narrative that I was harassing her. Attached a photo of my note from Bali, as if that proved her point. She left, out the part where she was cheating, obviously. Luckily, my boss has a working brain and called me into his office. He handed me the printed email and said, "Want to explain?" I did. In 3 minutes flat. Then I showed him the screenshots. He stared at them, nodded slowly, and said, "Well, damn, she's nuts." Case closed. That's when I knew I had to bring in backup. Not a friend, a lawyer. I contacted a buddy's cousin who specializes in online harassment and defamation cases. Sent him everything. The texts, the emails, the LinkedIn message. Yep, she tried there too. Ambitious girl. Even the attempted smear campaign at work. He drafted a cease and desist letter so sharp it could have shaved her ego clean off. We sent. It's certified mail. 2 days later, she cracked. She sent a flurry of emails, raging, crying, apologizing, blaming me, then begging me to just talk to her. Like we hadn't already skipped every possible conversation point back on the island. Of betrayal, I didn't reply, let her scream into the void. I was done being her audience. Meanwhile, her web of lies was unraveling. People stopped inviting her places. Friends posted cryptic stories clearly aimed at her. Her once steady stream of Dache couple goals posts dried up. Last I heard, even Kai dipped. Out. Maybe he realized being the upgrade wasn't as shiny once the truth came out. And me? I went back to my routine. Gym, work, sleep, repeat. But with one major upgrade, peace. The kind of peace that comes from knowing you walked away with dignity and didn't let someone else's mess drag you down with them. She tried to turn my silence into a weapon against me. I turned it into armor. And the best part? I never had to raise my voice, never had to explain myself in some dramatic Instagram story. I let the truth speak for itself, quietly, efficiently, and with just enough flair to remind her I'm not the fool she thought I was. You ever watch someone unravel in real time? It's wild. One day they're posting motivational quotes over beach sunsets, and the next, they're rage commenting under mutual friends' vacation photos like a raccoon with Wi-Fi. After that, cease and desist, Sabrina went quiet for about 3 days. Then came the next phase, the pity tour. She started telling people I was too cold, That I emotionally shut down after we got back. That she'd made mistakes, sure, but I was unwilling to work through it. Work through what exactly? Her holding hands with her ex over iced cappuccinos while calling me a placeholder? Please. At first, I didn't care. I wasn't trying to win hearts and minds. But the thing is, the truth's like gravity. You can fight it for a while, but eventually it brings everything back down. People began noticing patterns. Other exes of hers came out of the woodwork, sliding into DMs like, "Dude, same." Apparently, I wasn't the first guy she used as a romantic trampoline. Then there was her job. Someone forwarded me a screenshot. She posted a cryptic story on her professional page, something about being betrayed by small-minded men and punished for being a passionate woman. Classic rebrand, almost admirable, but word gets around. When your personal life starts bleeding into your professional one and you're publicly picking fights with your own past, people stop calling you charismatic and start calling you unstable. She tried to land a new gig in PR, ironic, I know, but someone Googled her. Turns out, drama leaves digital footprints, and screenshots don't lie. Eventually, even her loyal followers started jumping ship. Some messaged me privately, not to apologize, just to clarify that they had no idea what was really going on. I didn't respond. I wasn't interested in anyone's retroactive loyalty. Let's be clear. I wasn't celebrating her downfall. This wasn't a victory lap. It was just closure. Sometimes the universe doesn't hand you justice with a marching band. Sometimes it just slowly removes all the noise and leaves you in a quiet room, finally able to breathe. And man, I could breathe. I spent the next few months focusing on myself. Not in a cheesy, I'm becoming the best version of me kind of way. Just, I slept better, ate better, worked out. I even joined a boxing gym. Not to fight anyone, just to remind myself what it feels like to hit something without feeling like I'm breaking myself in the process. And then one night, sitting on my balcony with a beer in one hand and absolutely no messages from any unstable exes in the other, it hit me. If I hadn't trusted my gut, I would have proposed. I had the ring picked out. I had rehearsed what I'd say on that cliff top at sunset. Can you imagine? Dropping to one knee for someone who had a backup boyfriend waiting with a piña colada across town? Brutal, but also lucky, because I almost got trapped in a life built on half-truths and distraction. I almost ignored every gut feeling that told me something was wrong. And for what? A fantasy? A filtered version of a relationship that didn't exist outside of curated beach selfies? Nah. I'll take honesty over harmony any day. I'm not saying I'm perfect. I've got my flaws. I overthink, I bottle things up, and apparently I trust people way too much. But I show up, I care, and I don't lie to the person I'm waking up next to. That should count for something. In the end, Sabrina didn't just lose me. She lost the version of herself she'd carefully sold to everyone. And once that mask cracked, nobody could unsee it. Sometimes, karma doesn't come swinging in like a wrecking ball. Sometimes it's just a slow leak that deflates. Your lies one breath at a time, and me, I moved on. No big speeches, no revenge plots. Just quiet peace and a mental note. Trust your gut. It knows the truth before your heart is ready to hear it. So if you're out there and your partner suddenly wants to take you on a surprise trip to reconnect while acting sketchier than a guy in a trench coat selling fake watches, maybe double-check who else is getting that same boarding pass. You might thank yourself later. Now let me end with a question. If you were in my shoes, would you have confronted her? Blown up her spot at that little cafe date with her ex? Or would you have walked away the way I did, with your head high and a silent mic drop? Because sometimes the loudest thing you can say is nothing at all.